on the situated behavior interventions method, which helps indeed to act or prevent a lot of anger outbursts in your children. The basic idea about the anger regulation using the situated behavior interventions method is that the problem is not about being angry. That's the first thing that we need to understand as parents. So it's not that the child is angry. It is about how to self-regulate when they are angry. Now, we have to remember that if your child has frequent anger outbursts all the time, i.e. the frequency at which they get angry, so what we call short temper angry all the time, the intervention is not anger management. The intervention is something else. So controlling how often your child gets angry, that is not what this method is about. This method is about when they are angry, what they have to do with that anger. So it targets your child, how they should self-regulate when they are angry or when they are in the anger situation. Now, so I'm going to call it the situated anger management. So the question is, the child is asking themselves, what should I do when I am angry? What should I say when I am angry? You have to remember as parents or adults that your child may not actually know how to behave when they're angry. That's just it. They're angry and they do whatever instinct tells them to do, depending on what has happened, depending on how they feel, depending on how old they are, their maturity, etc. Okay. If no explicit guidelines may have been established to teach them how to express their anger, we do not have to take it for granted that your child actually knows how they should behave when they are angry. Now, we have to remember the key principles to help intervene when your child is angry is that for each anger situation, we have to be able to establish or be clear about guidelines for self-regulation when the child is angry. In the sense, what is the protocol to follow when the child is angry? Now, you establish how the child should behave when they are angry during a calm period, not when the child is actually angry. So during a calm period, you present and discuss anger self-regulation guidelines with your child. Okay, when your child's behavior changes, or when your child matures, or when this anger situation changes in terms of angry at school or angry at home, then you need to establish a new set of guidelines, because how we express the anger or how we behave, what we say, what we do when we are angry, sometimes can be different depending on where we are, whether we are at school, whether we are at home, whether we are with a stranger, whether we are on the street, etc. That is what I mean by when the situation changes, we also then have to tell the children or teach them how they should behave. And therefore, we're going to look at 3 aspects of the SBI method. And that's what we're going to use 3 of them together to establish anger behavior management. We have situated expectations, situated rewards, and situated breaks. And all these 3 elements must be present. Now, step 1, as parents, you need to ask yourself if you want to set situated expectations for anger. So we are here, situated expectations for anger. First question, how do we as parents want our child to behave when they are hungry? Just take a second and ask you. And that's the thing that I ask these questions because both parents must be on the same page and must agree. So both parents are there and you should discuss this and ask yourself, typically, what do we want our child to do when he's hungry? What do we expect him or her to do exactly? What do we expect them to say when they are angry? Step 2, think of what you expect your child to do exactly in that anger situation. And you should state this clearly to the child. Communicate it very clearly to the child. Because remember, certain expected anger guidelines must also include what you do not want the child to do, what you do not want the child to say. You must not take it for granted that because you've told the child that, you know, when you are angry, I want you to sit calmly. That does not mean that they should not shout. That is the message we have to be clear, that saying you should do this does not automatically mean that the opposite is true for a child on a neurodiverse profile. This is called the do not list. So you set the do not list about anger according to your core family values and principles. And this is very important, the idea of the core family values and principles, because again, as parents, you need to decide as a family, what do we represent as a family? Do we allow rude language when we are angry? Do we shout above our heads? Do we go on a ranting, shouting pace for 5 minutes, 10 minutes? What is our core value? Why? Because it helps you yourself also to indirectly model you model how you regulate your anger, because you have to be careful that you as an adult or parent cannot shout and use rude words when you're angry, and yet you've set guidelines for your child, telling the child, actually, you do not shout when you're angry, you do not use rude words when you're angry. It does not correspond with your family values. And the children understand that, and they don't mind you in the end because you do it. So what is the consistent family value? What do we represent as a family? That is what I mean by setting that expectations and the do not list about core family values. On another list named do not, you state clearly then what they should not do. You place both lists side by side and you add many visuals as much as you can depending on the child's age. So I'll show you an example. What do I do when I'm angry? And you can establish a few principles. And sometimes, depending on the age of the child, you can even include the child in the discussion in setting up the expectation of what do I do when I'm angry? Really, what should I do when I'm angry? I stay calm and I say, I need a break. This is what I mean by the situated breaks. In the modules that I said situated expectations, situated breaks, and situated rewards. I need a break to think. I walk to a quiet place. I take 3 deep breaths. I come back and I explain my problem calmly. These 4 steps are very clear. And if it corresponds to your family values, the child will see you do it anyway. Everybody does it. It's not just your child who is on the neurodiverse. You know, some families have 2 children, they have 3 children. This should be a consistent way of everybody in the household behaving when they're angry, because that is the family value. And you have your do not list depending on currently what your child does when they're angry. You put on that list. So if your child, when they're angry, they scream, you just put no screaming, no banging doors, or no destruction of objects. We don't insult, we don't kick doors, we don't throw objects and toys. And then you have your, you use the age and the nature of your child to guide your expectations. Another example of a list, depending on how your child behaves or their age. Do this when angry. It's very clear message to the child. I explain what I want calmly. If I feel stressed, I ask to be excused to take a break. I go to my room and sit on my bed. I listen to my music and read. Why is this? Go to my room and sit on my bed. I listen to music and read. Again, you can discuss with the child what they do in their room. It is very important you state clearly what the child should do when they go to their room. Sometimes you say, go to your room and calm down. And that's it. We end it there. And then the child goes to them, they do something else. I don't know, they start playing video games. And then we go back and say, why are you on your video game? Why aren't you? You state clearly, what should they do when they are in their room? Because you want to put into place something that both the child and you have agreed that that is what makes them calm, listening to music or reading a book. And then you do not list. Don't say rude words. We say, don't do this list. Say rude words, shout, hit anyone. Remember, when you have deficit in self-regulation, it implies that you have low motivation. This I have repeated several times, and that's why situated rewards are important. And situated rewards must be added to the guidelines for anger self-regulation. And rewards go with consequences automatically. Sometimes that's when we give rewards and we don't state clearly that there are consequences when the child does not do what we expect them to do. So this is how your list will look like. You have your list of do this when you're angry, you have your do not list when you're angry, and you have your reward. State clearly what the child obtains for making the effort by following what you've told them they should do when they are angry. Because remember, we are giving them something to do which is against their instinct. Because if they knew what they were supposed to do when they were angry, they would have been doing it anyway. Because they're not doing it anyway, it means it is extra learning effort they need to put in place. And for that, you need to reward them. And then you need to state clearly what the consequences are, which is the absence of what, and this must be communicated very clearly. So this is how then your overall list will look like. You have your do this when angry, Don't do this when you're angry. This is your reward. So depending on what your child wants and what you've agreed and what is accepted in the family, is it extra time on video games that you give them? Is it extra pocket money if they're a teenager? Is it a play date or movie? Is it a favorite game? And then the consequences are clear. If you chose extra time on video games as the reward, the consequences are you do not get the extra time, you do not get the pocket money, etc. And these sections are all there, clearly stated visually. Please don't rely on just your oral repetition. I told you, you know, we said it yesterday. No, it does not work. It tires out everybody. Your child focuses on your voice and the tone of your voice and your emotion, and they don't hear what you are saying. This is an example. Look at this list of expected behavior. So this is an example of bedtime routine. You have a very lovely schedule. Take a bath, put on pajamas, have an evening snack, brush your teeth, read a book, go to bed. This is a lovely list, but it's missing one thing, two things actually. It's missing the rewards. Why should the child do this? What do they get for making this effort to do this? It's missing the rewards, it's missing the consequences, it's missing the breaks. If you have a lovely list like this, it's great, but it's not going to work, or it's not going to work for a very long time. This is another one. Say this is a younger child. They get angry at school. So you say, I'm going to set up a behavior regulation. This is what you should do. Don't. You don't do this in school when you're angry. You know, biting, you have lovely visuals. No kicking, no hitting. You have the consequences. If you kick or if you bite, you go home. If you kick, you go to teacher's office. If you hit, there's a timeout chair, you sit down, let's say. It's missing one thing. What is the reward? You've told the child what they will lose as a consequences if they do what they're supposed to do. This list is even worse because it does not even tell the child what they should do. And there are no rewards and there are no breaks. It is not going to work. It's not even if it works, it's going to work first day, second day, third time, and then afterwards it's not going to work anymore because you are missing points in the loop of the expectations, the rewards, and the consequences and the breaks. Because remember, anger situations are overwhelming for children emotionally. They need breaks. So ideally, this is an example of arguments and discussions. How your child should behave during an argument or during a discussion. And expectations on angry discussions. A lot of children, teenagers, even some don't know what to do when they are having an angry discussion. Sometimes anger situations are good because it enables you to explain what happened. You ask the child, what happened? Why did you do it? The child is supposed to explain. It becomes a discussion. Or something simple becomes an angry discussion. And yet that is okay sometimes. But there are ways in taking over and having a discussion that corresponds to expected behavior. So I explain my problem and I listen to others. I wait for my turn to speak. I speak calmly. If I feel too angry or sad, I ask to be excused for 10 minutes. That's the situated breaks. I continue speaking calmly when I return. I ask questions if I'm confused. You have your situated rewards. All these are examples, by the way. I'm not saying all these rewards you give to the child. These are examples, and each one of you can pick and choose whichever one that suits you. Each time I show expected behavior, I receive €5. Let's say you have a 17-year-old. You give them pocket money anyway. So €5 extra pocket money if you follow these expectations during an angry discussion. Or depending on the age of the child, I receive 15 minutes extra time for video game. Or I receive 1 point. And when I get 5 points, I obtain 15 minutes extra videos. You have your do not list. Do not swear or use bad language. Do not throw objects. Do not bang doors. Assuming that's what the child does. Consequences, I get no reward and I lose €5 if I show these behaviors. This is extreme case where the child is just really violent and aggressive. So not only don't they receive the €5, they also lose something that maybe they've already gained. Or I get no reward and I lose 15 minutes extra time on my video games. Or I get no point and I lose a point. Or I just don't get the reward at all. And when you are using points of the counting system, below here, you have day 1 or situation 1. So first situation of anger, you realize that the child has actually followed the expectation. They get a point and you mark it. Second situation or second day, they get another. And at the end of the day, you count them and then that is their reward. The reward must be visual for the child. They must see what they are working towards because they forget it. When you're in the angry situation, they forget it. And such a list must be placed in your living room, in your dining room, in the chat. It must be placed everywhere. Print it big. Make the pictures wide, bright. Make the colors bright. Make the pictures and point everywhere. Because this does not only have to apply to your neurodiverse child. It can apply to everybody because, let's face it, we all get a bit carried away when we're angry. But there is a focal expected point of core values where we, even if we one day or another, or from time to time, we may not do what is expected on the list, but that's okay. But at least there is a common consensus in the family that says that this is how we behave. I just want to end by telling you something about the SBI method. It is a lot about adults. It ensures that adults are able to establish rules and reminders in key anger situations for children. Adults must constantly anticipate and think, what are the guidelines? What are the expectations? What are the consequences? What are the rewards? Renewing this information as the anger situations involved is very important. So SBI is not just about children. It is also about the adult. And it is never targeted to the child alone. And don't forget the three aspects that go together. You know, the expectations, the breaks, and the rewards. And once you feel as parent, you feel you know what to do, and you know you have communicated clearly what the child is supposed to do, you are not even upset when they're angry, because once they calm down, you take them through the expected list again, you take them through their expectations, the rewards again, and you just encourage them, this is what you know you're supposed to do better next time. You repeat. The second time, they may follow one or two expectations, they may not follow all, you repeat. And a time is going to come, they are going to be able to do it. Don't give up if it doesn't work the first time. Don't give up if it doesn't work the second time. They are going to get it. Thank you.